right, all right, all right. This ain't just a show. This is a platform. Veteran built, battle tested. Welcome to the MisFitNation. Yeah! Mic in a room, built from boots on the ground. Now we breaking the rules. 2 vets, 1 leader, painting the sound. Turn scars into sermons, let them echo around. Authors with truth, musicians with fire. Actors backstage chasing something higher. Entrepreneurs bleeding just to get ahead. If you fought for your dream, yeah, you are what you said. If they told you no, if you still came back, if you fell to your knees but you stayed on track, this is your voice, this is your flame. Say it loud, remember the name. No salvation, just elevation. We rise again. From the fight to the end. We are the MisFitNation. No damn labels, no damn cages. If you're still breathing, you belong. Turn it up. This is our song. Yeah. This is our song. Yeah. Veterans standing with ghosts in the chest. First responders running in while the world second guess. Gold star names carved deep in the soul. Your story ain't over, we carry the whole. Coaches teaching mindset, breaking the chains, turning barely alive into owning the pain. Truth over polish, scars on display. If it's real, let it bleed. That's the MisFit play. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. It's Aubrey right now. We're the more than you know. 988, don't walk alone. Veterans press 1, bring it home. Don't trade forever for tonight. You're still needed in this fight. We are the MisFitNation, built from scars and dedication. We rise again. From the fight to the end. We are the MisFitNation. Every voice is vindication. From the silence to the scream, we're strong. Welcome home, you belong. You belong. You belong. Oh wait, you. Oh wait, you belong.
Hey, God, we need to talk. I used to be competent, organized, rational.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Something has shifted. Apparently, menopause comes with side effects. Fine. If everything's coming unhinged, I'll come with it.
Woo! All right. Welcome back, MisFitNation. Another year, another great book is released from a great friend of ours, Teri Brown. So every year, this year took a little longer. I was a little upset with her. It took more than 12 months this time. We'll give her a break, though. We'll let that go. But we're not talking about starting over tonight. We're talking about falling apart, finding something stronger on the other side. Because at some point in life, whether you're a veteran, a leader, a parent, or just someone trying to hold it all together, everything you built starts to crack. The career, the relationships, the identity. And the question becomes, do you break or do you rebuild? Tonight, Teri, she just didn't write about the moment. She lived it, studied it, and turned it into a powerful, raw, an honestly hilarious story in her newest book, Peg Unhinged. This is about menopause, divorce, identity loss, and the unexpected power that comes when you finally stop pretending you've got it all together. This is a conversation about resilience, reinvention, and what happens when you stop surviving and start becoming. So let's bring Teri on. Welcome back, Teri.
Thanks for having me, Rich. That was a great introduction. I'm gonna use that again.
Outstanding. I told you I worked on it all week, and
You
then
did
I was reading. I was
fantastic.
like, it hits me in the head today. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome
Yes.
back. I told you I was a little upset. It took over a year this time, but
Yeah.
I'm glad you're still with us and you're smiling. You're laughing with Peg Unhinged, and
Yeah.
you're doing much better as we talked about in the green room.
Right. So, it took me a little over a year, but you figure a year ago, January, my husband died. So he had brain cancer and he passed away. And I did not write all of January, February, March, April, May, June, July. And it wasn't until August that I
Wow.
started writing again. And even in August, I didn't know that I could write again. I had a writing retreat that I had been chosen for. I considered not going because I had not written anything in so long. I didn't even know that, could I, would I, should I didn't even know. I decided to go. My daughter pretty much convinced me, Mom, go. The worst that can happen is you don't write and you can always come home. You might as well go. And as soon as I got there, something opened up in my head. I think I gave myself permission to write. And I had not been giving myself that permission before because it didn't seem right. I'd lost my husband. He meant the world to me. And how am I supposed to write? And then I got there and I think I was so far from home. So I live in North Carolina and this was in the mountains in New York. So I mean, I was way far from home.
Way different.
Nobody knew me. So I wasn't Teri the widow. I was just Teri, this writer girl, lady, woman, whatever I am, right? And I don't know, it kind of gave me permission to say I am an author and I can sit down and write again. And it felt so good to write again. I really did think for a while that maybe I had written my last. And Bruce would have been mortified with me if I had stopped because, one of his big things was he made me promise that I would continue living.
Right.
That was his thing. He said, I've got an incurable brain cancer. I'm going to die. And you've got to keep living. And it was like, that's a hard thing to ask of someone,
Yes.
because it's like, I don't know that I've got it in me. And yeah, so the book took a little longer because it took me longer to finally get it done. But once I got it done, and then you have all of that back stuff that has to be accomplished, and it just takes forever. And I was so ready for it to come out, but it's now here. So, a couple of months late, but I still made it. So,
You're still here. And when I was waiting for you to email me and you finally emailed me, I was like, it's finally back. You're
back.
still here. You're still pumping them out. Here we go. Because when you were on last time, it was like literally right after we lost you.
Yes. Yeah. Because
Valentine's.
that book was 10 Little Rules for a Double-Butted Adventure, which was about our trip across the United States. And that book came out on Valentine's Day, and he passed away January 10th. So I kind of sort of remember that coming out. And I know I did a lot of talking with people and I was on a lot of podcasts, but quite frankly, I go back and listen to them and I think, wow, I didn't do so bad for someone who wasn't in her right mind. Like I wasn't thinking, I had trouble. Oh, I wasn't sleeping. I had trouble eating. I wasn't doing anything. And yet somehow I managed to do that. And I really think that it was very helpful for me to have something very positive that he and I had done together and shared, to be able to focus on that instead of those last couple of months of cancer, which are just not pretty.
It's not the time you want to remember them.
No, it's like every now and then I still, it'll come up, but it's not the only thing on my mind. And I'm just so grateful that I had something else to focus on. So.
Definitely. And I mean, I remember I was shocked because I was making a Marine joke, of course. And you said, "Oh, I didn't tell you."
It's yeah. And it's interesting because I've had a lot of people say, I don't know how you did it. How did you do that? And it's like, I don't know how I did it either. I really don't. There are whole swaths of time that I don't have any real memory of. And yet I look and it's like, oh, look, I was on several podcasts during that time. I guess I was alive. I just kept moving forward. I don't know. That's the one thing I did tell Bruce, because, he said, are you going to be okay? And I said, yes, I won't be okay on the day you die, or the first several months, I'm sure. But will I be okay? Yes, because what else can I be?
Right.
I guess I could curl up in a fetal position on the floor, but eventually I'm going to have to get up from there.
Exactly.
Right.
You have to move at some point.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I'm kind of the not fake it till you make it completely, because I do think that you need to deal with your stuff. Like you
Right.
can't just sweep it all under the rug, but there is a little bit of the fake it till you make it mentality that has to go on. That yes, I'm going to deal with my stuff, but I'm also going to keep moving forward in the meantime, even if it isn't pretty,
Right.
Even if it's not perfect, even if someone else might point their finger at it and say, what are you doing? It's like, this is the only thing I know to do. So, yeah.
It's kind of like ripping that Band-Aid off.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just have to keep moving. And, I hear his voice in my head a lot, because I've gotten where I argue with myself now. So I lay in bed in the morning, I have trouble getting up, and then I say to myself, you can do hard things. And that's one of the rules in my 10 little rules book. And the other morning I did that. I said, you can do hard things. And so I talked back to myself and I said, I know I can do hard things. I've been doing hard things. I'm sick and tired of doing hard things. When won't it be hard anymore? So I expect my neighbors at some point to call people on me and say, she's
She might be
talking to
unhinged.
herself in there. Yeah, she's a little, but yeah, I just kind of hear his voice in my head. And a lot of times I've gotten up, because it's like, I just can't disappoint him.
Right.
I just can't do it. I don't want to get up today, but I'm going to, because the alternative doesn't look pretty, and I'm not going to do that to him or to me. And up I get. And what's really crazy is this book, Peg Unhinged, is funny, and it's meant to be funny.
Right.
And when I started writing again, I didn't feel funny.
Wow.
And I thought, how am I going to write this? Because I had 20,000 words of this book done, and it ended up being about 85,000 words. So I had 65,000 more words I needed to write that had to be funny. And I thought, I don't know that I can do it. And it came back. And so it felt really good to find all of those pieces of me again that had kind of flung. I felt like I'd been, hit with something, and they all just kind of flung to all parts of the room, and I was collecting myself again. So.
Oh, definitely. And I bet as you're writing, you can probably feel the presence of him, and you got this.
Yeah. You got this. You got this, Terry. It's like, I know. I'm doing it. And really,
in the chat right now, he remembered that moment when you talked about two hard things last year.
Yeah.
And we, like you said, you're going to take that the intro I gave tonight, and use that. We've been using do hard things since that show.
Yeah.
And you'll see it go across the bottom of the show at towards probably midway through. You'll see it, and we use it all the time now. And he said, "See, I remember stuff."
Yeah, but do hard things. It's sometimes you just have to.
Right.
Is it hard? Yes. Do I think I can do it? Not positive, but the alternative looks worse to me. Yes. And I think that's something that I have relatives that I've seen not handle death well. I had a grandfather, my grandmother passed away. That was his one and only love. He never dated another woman. He never kissed another woman. And when she died, he essentially died with her, but he lived for 10 more years. In those 10 years, every day he said, maybe today's the day I'll die. And I just knew that that's not what I wanted for myself.
Right.
That just isn't what I wanted. So I kept moving forward, even when it felt weird. And sometimes when it felt wrong. There were times that I was moving forward that I thought people are going to start judging me. They're going to think that I didn't love him, because if I did, how could I be moving forward like I'm moving? Right. And I had to give that up. I had to just forget about that. That is not, it's not for anyone else to make that decision.
Right. It's your decision at that point.
Yeah.
And I like to tell people everyone grieves differently, of course. And
Absolutely.
no two of us are the same. And I know there's a book answer for a lot of people from the old days. They think you have to wear black for X amount of months, or
Yes.
years, whatever. And
Yeah.
you got to stay rigid. But each one of us is different. You got to heal your way that's good for you. And I
Right.
think for you, writing is your voice. It's your
Yeah.
medicine. It's your thing that you do that makes you feel good. And you also give a voice to other authors
Right.
through
Right.
your other work. So you're
And
not
let me
just
tell you, doing the podcast, I have my own podcast online for authors, and doing that podcast has really been good for me, because even on days where I didn't feel like I could be social, where I just could not imagine going out into public, I might have a podcast, which required me to make myself look like I haven't been in bed all day, put on something clean, sit here, and then have a conversation. And at the end of that conversation, I always felt better
right.
every time. And it was like, it's amazing the things that I have in place that helped me through one of the hardest things that I've ever been through. And they just keep helping me over and over and over again. And I'm really grateful that I have what I have, so that I had something to go to,
Right. That's
So
why that's why it kind of made me happy that when you wrote me and said Peg Unhinged is coming, I was like,
yes, she's doing it. She's doing it. Well, the other fun thing about doing Peg is, Peg is going through menopause and she's unhinged.
right.
And so her emotions, everything, are all over the place. And though my emotions were unhinged for a completely different reason, I certainly could relate to her. And I certainly could add some of my unhingedness to her. You know what I'm saying? Like I could feel her. We were doing it for different reasons. She had a completely different life thing going on, but I've been through menopause, so I do remember that. And I personally felt unhinged at the moment. So I knew what that kind of looked like, how that came out in the world. And it was just kind of fun to play with that and realize, there are a lot of people just like me who are falling apart for whatever reason. They've lost someone, they've lost their job, their hormones are a mess. They're getting a divorce. They're become an empty nest mom and don't know what to do with themselves anymore. All of those things really do kind of like throw people. And I loved writing something that I think all women can see themselves in Peg. And I even think that if a man is willing to read it with an open mind, he can see himself. So
Yeah. Just that intro. I told you the intro brought it out of me for this week. So that's good. It's great to see that it came out, and the video. I love the video. You always have great teasers and things going on with your books. You have the prop behind you, and you have a following. You also have the book hook.
The book
I did
hook.
that. Yeah, that was another great thing you started last year, I believe, too. You started that. So
no, I started that in January. I came up with the idea last year, and it started now in January. And I just keep looking for ways to help authors get their books and their ideas out in front of people. It's hard. This author life, the writing part is actually the easiest part of all of it.
Right.
And then trying to get your book to rise above everyone else's book out there, that's the hard part.
It's all the pre-marketing, the post-marketing, and then of course getting on all the shows to sell your book.
Like,
basically.
here I am.
Hi.
Yeah. Look, it's a book. Yeah. And this book actually was a little scary for me in another way, in that my other 3 novels are all historical fiction. They're
Right.
written in third person. They are multiple points of view. Peg Unhinged is a first person, one point of view, modern comedy.
Wow.
And it's like, wow, like, let's see if Teri can't take on a challenge. Let's just do something. Don't do what you've been doing. No. Let's make it really hard on yourself. But this book came about because as a teenager or preteen, I read the book, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. And that's by Judy Blume. And I read it so many times that my copy the cover was falling off and pages were coming out, right? And this book is about a group of girls, friends, who all cannot wait for puberty. Now, why? Once they get it, I am sure that they would wish that puberty went somewhere else. But at the time, they could not wait. And I read that book over and over and over and over. Well, it became a movie a couple of years ago. And around that time that it was coming out, I read an interview maybe with the author, something, I don't remember, but I was reading something. And I always have these thoughts. That's where my books come from. It's just this why kind of thoughts. And I had the thought, I wonder whatever happened to Margaret. And immediately my brain answered and says she goes by Peg and she's going through menopause. And I started to laugh and I thought, oh my gosh, is that a book? So this is not Judy Blume's Margaret, but I suspect this Peg read Judy Blume's book as a kid, right? And this is her trying to make sense of this thing called menopause, where hormones come rushing in, and the next minute you're angry at everyone for no reason whatsoever. Like the smallest thing can make you completely nuts, and you can't find your phone. And why not? Because you've put it in the refrigerator. And, I mean, the other day, no lie, I had my phone and I had it pinched up to my shoulder because I was pulling groceries in the house, and I got all the groceries put away, but now I needed to run back out. I'm talking to my daughter. And I didn't say anything to her, but it's like, okay, I've got my purse, I've got my keys, and I'm thinking, where's my phone? So I start looking for it. I look in my purse and I look under my purse. I even opened up the refrigerator because I had been putting groceries away. No phone. Where is my phone? Chat with my daughter. I go out to my car. I'm looking under the seat, between the seats, and all of a sudden it hits me. I'm talking on the phone to my daughter.
Wow.
Like, oh my gosh. So when I do those kinds of things, that's so Peg. And I just had to bring that kind of thing out and show the world that, first of all, we're not crazy. We can't help it. It's just the way it is. Like, this is just, hormones. And then I just tried to make it funny so that women can have a good laugh at themselves.
Yes. And maybe, like you said, if the men read it, they can understand a little bit of what's going on.
Yeah. If nothing else, maybe it'll just let you see that you're not alone, and that it's not just your wife, right? It's all wives, and it's a horrible, horrible feeling. And the biggest thing that I had when I was going through it was the anger. I would be fine, totally fine, feel really good, and then homicidal. I want to hurt someone.
Wow.
And it was like, and I would think to myself, the next person that comes through the door, I'll just knock them off. I mean, I was angry, and it was like, where is that coming from? And then I would eventually get angry and shout at people, and then I would cry because I felt so horrible because I'm such a terrible person. Hormones. So I wrote about it.
Wow. I mean, you captured it all because you had that relatability to it. And like, I couldn't write that book and be honest about it because I can just know the other side of it. What is going on? What just happened?
What just happened? Why am I this way? Yeah.
The wind blew. Why are you so mad at me?
It's like, oh my gosh. I actually had a friend of mine, a male friend, read it. He was very reticent to read it. He said, I just didn't want to read it because I lived with a woman with bad menopause, and I couldn't imagine. He said it was hell. I couldn't imagine that I would want to read this book. And he said, and I found it to be very funny. And it was like, oh, good. So even someone who had a really awful experience could find the humor in it.
Definitely. And my brother just posted, went through it already, still shakes sometimes.
Yeah. Like, I understand. It's not fun.
Wow.
And it's not fun. It's not fun for those around us, and it's not fun for those of us in the body that all of a sudden is not behaving like ours anymore. It's like, what is going on? And you don't even, there's no answer to that,
Right. And you're going through it, and then your partner or spouse is in there. I'm going to go get ice cream.
Yeah, seriously. It's kind of like Bruce used to say all the time. He would say, I think someone's calling me from the garage, and he would he'd head out, and it was like, that's when I knew that I was out of control. And it was like, okay, I'll try to get it all back together again. But yeah, it was just, the hot flashes that come out of nowhere, the night sweats, and you wake up in the middle of the night and your sheets are soaking wet. So now you have to wake up your husband so you can change all the bedding. It's not fun.
No.
And I actually, when I told somebody that it was a funny book about menopause, they got very serious and they said, menopause isn't funny. And I said, well, it is when it's not happening to you.
Yes.
I mean, you know, and that's kind of the point of this, is it's a good way to laugh at something. There isn't a whole lot you can do about the fact that this is what our bodies do, but you can learn to kind of laugh at it and recognize it for what it is. And also do look at things that can be done. Like if I have, you know, my doctors were kind of the, well, you know, you're just getting older. This is the way it is. And it's like, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. There are things that can not get rid of it, but make it a little easier to handle, a little easier, you know. And so definitely talk with the right people. If you have someone brushing you off, look for someone else.
Yes. My brother, he must have really went bad through this. Another comment: a roller coaster through a forest fire while eating ice cream.
Yeah.
It's on fire tonight.
And singing Kumbaya, I'm sure, right?
Oh, good.
Yeah.
We got a question from the audience too. This is from Will You Be Here? Have you ever gone through a season where your identity completely shifted, and what triggered it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so to say completely, I think that I've always held on to a piece of me. Like I can't imagine that, but I lived for 14 years in an emotionally abusive relationship. And when I got out of that, I was a mess of an individual. I didn't believe in myself. I thought my life was over. I was 55 and I thought that was it. That my life, I would end up sitting in a rocking chair and waiting to have grandchildren. I just couldn't imagine there was anything else to my life. And I did. I made a very big shift and became an author. And I rode across the United States on a tandem. And at the end of that ride, because when I made the decision to ride across the United States on a tandem, I had not been on a tandem bicycle in 40 years. Wow. And so to go from that, and I was 70 pounds heavier than I am right now. And I didn't believe in myself and all of those things. And I made it across the United States on a bicycle. And when I was done, I said, oh my gosh, I can do anything I put my mind to. It's not a matter of can I do it, but what do I want? And that's when I made the shift to be an author. But in the last year, I've had to shift again because I loved being Bruce's wife.
Right.
And that was a big part of my identity. And the things that I did outside of being an author, I did always with Bruce. And a lot of what I did with an author, I also did with Bruce. And I had to figure out me again. And this time I didn't want to. You know, this wasn't something that I said to myself, oh, I think it's time for a change. I was happy. I didn't need the change, but it was forced on me. And so I think that shift for me, it's been longer, it's taken longer, and it's been harder. And I think part of the reason it's been harder is because I've been fighting it. I don't want it. You know, I don't want to make changes, but I don't have any choice. I have to make the change. And so it's been a little tougher. This time, I think one of the things that has helped me the most, staying busy, reminding myself I can do hard things. And I have a really good therapist. And that has been really, really beneficial to me this time because I've been very angry and I don't know what to do with it.
Right.
And it's not healthy. It's not helpful, but it's there. And it's like, what do I do with all of it? And a lot of that anger has gone away as I have come to just accept that my life is changing. I don't have to like it, but it is changing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's a fact. And I can scream and kick and it's still going to change. And that has helped me a lot. So I don't know if that answered their question, but those are the two big times in my life, I think, that I've made some some very big switches. So
I think so. And you referenced last year you had to go through, and basically you said, I wanted to be his wife forever.
yeah,
And Bruce was your everything. He was your shining moment, your the
yeah.
love of your life. And all of a sudden he's gone. Now what do you identify? Now you have a new identity.
Yeah, right.
Should you have a new identity?
And then that identity was the word widow.
Right.
Oh, I don't like that word. Like it conjures up all kinds of things in my head, none of which are true, because a widow can be any age. They can be at any health level. They can be at any monetary, like financially, they can be anywhere from super poor to uber rich. Like becoming a widow, none of that is relevant to what you do and who you are and right. But in my mind, widows are these weak, pathetic, incapable, have to get help with everything. And I hated that word. And that was what I was. And so I fought against that for a long time. I now actually remind myself daily that I'm a widow. I'm trying to get used to the word.
Right.
It's just a word. It's like married. It's like it's not who I am. It's just it's a label. It's part of who I am, but it is not the entirety of who I am. So yeah, it's been
it's a challenge.
it
Definitely
is,
a challenge.
yeah.
And you've
Yeah.
accepted that challenge, and that's something else we say here all the time. Challenge accepted. We
Yeah.
stole your do hard things, and we have challenge accepted. So we have both of them in there. So
Yeah.
you can take that one and throw it in the next book.
I
Challenge
got challenge accepted. I'm gonna post that up on my mirror.
There you go. You can borrow some of ours.
Yeah. Because it's interesting how, when you're going through whatever you're going through, you kind of feel like you're alone and like nobody else can understand me. Well, it's true that no one else has been married to Bruce, who was me, right? So what I'm going through is unique on the one hand. But on the other hand, there are people who go through all kinds of things where they feel like their identity has been jerked out from under them in a variety of ways for a variety of reasons, right? And so although I'm unique, I'm not. I'm definitely not alone. And I think that's one of the things that's been good for me to remember is, yes, I feel alone a lot of the time, but I'm not really alone. There are other people out there who have experienced similar kinds of things.
Right.
And they're making it and I'm making it and we're all going to be okay. So.
And for us, like the veteran world, coming back from when we went to Afghanistan, Iraq, and stuff, and you don't notice things really while you're in it. But when you come home and you lost X amount of people while you're over there, and now you see this 18-year-old woman there that's now a widow.
Yeah.
Because she just lost her high school sweetheart that she got married to just before they deployed, or 19 years old. And you look at that and like, this is real. And that's their life forever now. They're so young. And that's their face forever. And so you're not, like you said, you're not alone in being a widow, but
in fact, I'm not alone. And I had some really good years with Bruce and he didn't die. I mean, he died a tragic death, but it wasn't he wasn't bombed somewhere. Right. Like, it's just, there's a lot of acceptance that goes into loss. And I'm not good at that. That's never been my strong suit. It just hasn't. I'm more of a, my way. We're going to do it my way. Let's, and I've had to learn to just kind of let go and accept things. And I don't do that well. I don't know if you can see that about me, but it is not something it's not something
I never have. In our 5 interviews, I've never seen that.
You've never seen that. Yeah. And it's funny because my therapist is continuously working with me to get me to try to just accept something. And it's like, I rode across the United States on a tandem bicycle, right? Like, I don't know what that word is, like acceptance. No, you just pedal harder. That's, you
put rubber on a tire. That's it.
Yeah. You just keep pedaling, so it has definitely been a interesting few months, to say the least.
Definitely. And my brother's still on it here. So This one, no limit on healing. Do it your way. Tell the stories and keep the memories alive.
Yeah. There is no doubt that that is one of the things that I love being able to do, is to talk about Bruce, talk about the things that he did. Just today I was playing bridge with the ladies, and I was talking about the fact he was a cyclist, and he would see people cycling up our road and realize that their bicycle was having issues, but they didn't know it and didn't know what to do. And he'd go down the driveway, and when they'd come back around, he'd invite them up and he'd fix their bikes. He fixed the bicycles of just about everybody on our street.
Oh, wow.
Because come on up here. Let me, it'll just take me a minute. And he'd get that thing up there and he'd fix his, he'd look out and think, oh, that seat's too low, or their pedals aren't doing right. Or one lady had her bicycle put together for Christmas. I think like Walmart must have put it together. And he looks out there and realizes that they have the fork for the front tire on backward.
Oh my.
And so she's having a heck of a time riding her bike because it doesn't feel stable. Well, it doesn't feel stable because the tire's not where it's supposed to be. Right. And so he gets her up there and he flips that all around and gets everything worked out. And so, yeah, I love talking about him and remembering all of the things that he did and the said and the funny things and the times that we laughed. And, that's the way to do it.
Definitely. And it's helping you. And that's what the best part about this whole conversation is. I can see you're smiling. I can see your work, and you're still pushing forward. You're resilient. You still have your grit about you, and you're happy again.
Yeah. I do want to point out, though, for anyone who's watching, who is going through things and they don't feel like they're like this. Okay. You have to remember that this is a 1-hour show, and that there are times that I can't fall asleep at night and I doom scroll for hours because I can't imagine trying to go to sleep. And there are times where something will come up and I will start to cry. And it isn't just, little tears. It's the racking, horrible sobs that you think will never stop. So it's not like everything's hunky dory and look at Teri. I don't want people to think that. Right. Luckily, knock on wood, to date, I haven't gotten on a podcast and just completely broke down and have been sobbing, because that would embarrass me. But I do that, and so there are still times, and there are still things that are very difficult for me. I cannot go to a restaurant and eat alone.
Wow.
I hate it. It feels horrible, yuck, and so I'm working on that. I'm trying to do that. I've done it. I've managed to do it twice now. I hated it both times, but at least I've done it.
Right.
Right. That's what I keep reminding myself. 2 times. I've done it twice. I can do it again. But there are just certain things that they just don't feel comfortable to me.
Definitely. And that's one that's hard for anyone. Going to a restaurant, eating alone, even single, married, or lost, or whatever. You walk in and you see everyone in these groups and table for one, please.
Table for one. And I feel like people are looking at me. Which is really crazy, because I tend not to look at people when I'm in a restaurant. I'm not paying attention, but I feel like I have a neon sign that's flashing that says, I'm a widow, I'm alone, poor pitiful me, right? And the one time I went to a restaurant, though, I really did. I wanted to shake everyone. I walked in and there was not a sign that said seat yourself, but there also wasn't a sign that said wait to be seated. So I wasn't sure. So I just kind of walk in and, you kind of hesitate, what am I supposed to do? And they called from across the room and they said, how many in your party? I said, 1, so they had me sit down. So I sat down. Then someone came over to bring me my water. It was not my waitress. It was someone else, put water down, and they said, how many? I said, 1. And my waitress came over with several menus and said, how many?
Oh my.
And it was 1. There's one of me, And I thought, okay, this seriously. So I almost feel like that was eating out 3 times in one, I had to go through it 3 times. So
that was immersive therapy.
Yes. Yeah. It was how many times do I have to say I'm eating alone? I felt like I needed to get up on the table and shout, I'm eating alone. Yeah. But
do you see anyone else? Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So you said earlier you had 20,000 words finished, and
yeah,
then you had to do the last 65,000 and make it funny.
yes.
Were
And
you still
and
doing the same process you did with your other books? I think you used to do what 5, 10,000 in the morning or something like that. You're just writing, pre-write until you got it all done, or was it a different process?
so this was a little harder. What had happened was is I started writing the book while Bruce was sick. And then during a period of time when he had gotten sicker, I got I got like invested in trying to write a certain amount of words every day. And I wrote about 40,000 words that I had to throw out. They were horrible. They were absolutely horrible. And I had lost her voice completely. So I
Oh,
got rid of those. And when I started again, I said, okay, it's easy to lose the voice because she's funny. You can get too slapstick, then it's not good. And then you can quit being funny. And that also isn't good. Like you've got to find this balance. So in this book, I did things a lot differently. I would write a chapter and then I would take a break. And then I would read that chapter and see, did I keep her voice? Is it funny enough? Is it too funny? What adjustments do I need to make? And then I would write the next chapter and take a break. And I would always start by reading the last chapter or two again, just to make sure that there was a nice even thread of her all the way through. So it was a very different process for me, but that probably was beneficial because I hadn't written in a long time and didn't feel like I could. And so to do something different, it didn't feel like I was trying to go back to the old me. It was new Terry trying something new. So yeah.
this is the first time without your biggest cheerleader right now.
Yes,
So
yes. And
all new.
so many times when I would finish a certain, like the first draft, and I wanted so badly to tell Bruce.
Right.
Right? Because he would always say things to me like, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. Or if I would win an award, he would say, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. And then about an hour later, we'd maybe be watching television and he'd be looking up just, I could tell like he was measuring things in his mind. And what are you doing? And he'd say, I'm trying to figure out how to enlarge the ceiling because your head's getting so big.
Oh, wow. Oh,
you
wow.
know and then he would laugh, and it was just this thing that we did, and it was beautiful and wonderful. And then I don't have that, and sometimes like I'll reach out to his daughters and I'll say, gosh, I wish I could talk to your dad. And they say, and it's true, that he's proud of you.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, and it's not the same. Like what I want is to hear his voice. What I want is for him to give me a big hug.
Right.
That's what I want. And, you don't get that. And it's like, do I know that yes, I know he's proud of me. I know he's proud of me.
He's sitting in there right now laughing at
Yes.
you, with you.
Yes, absolutely. And I still really very much want him right here with me. I have my granddaughter, who she's now 7, but at 6 years old, she came to spend a few days with me. We were in my bathroom brushing our teeth. She was standing at the other sink, and she says, this was Papa's sink. I said, yeah, sweetheart, it was. And she said, you miss him. And I said, yes, I do. And she said, you'll get to see him again someday. And I said, yes, I will. I believe that. I said, yes, I will. And then she stopped and said the most profound thing. She kind of tilted her head to one side and she said, but that's kind of like when mommy says I can have ice cream next week. That makes me happy, but I want it today.
Wow. That's 6 mouths of babes.
And it was like, oh yes, that is exactly it, sweetheart. That is exactly it. So, the understanding that, yeah, it's what, I want. Yeah, I want Bruce here. That's what I want.
Right.
I don't get it, but that's what I want. So,
and the mouths of babes will get you every time.
every time.
That probably helps you break down more. So
Yeah.
And that leads to our next audience question. I said breakdown, and I'm reading their question from Jill O'Green. Do you believe breakdowns are necessary for growth, or are they avoidable?
Oh, I think they're probably necessary. I mean, I don't know to what extent, like, do you have to have a complete full down meltdown, put you out of commission for weeks? I don't know that you need one of those, but I think that when you're willing to kind of fall apart, that's when you have to then determine how you're coming back together. Before you fall apart, or at least for me, before I'm falling apart, I'm still trying to figure out how to keep it together. Right. But once I've fallen apart and it's all in pieces, now it's a matter of how do I want to put these pieces back together?
Right.
And there's some acceptance to that, because at that point you recognize I'm in pieces and now I have to do something about it. But as long as you are, quote unquote, holding it together, you haven't accepted the fact that you're really not holding it together. That duct tape isn't going to last much longer, right? We see that, right? And we see that in Peg, where for the longest time she was just so determined to keep her life exactly the way it was. And it wasn't until she kind of hit a bottom spot and she came up, and as she's coming up for air, she recognized, you know what, the life that I had wasn't all that fabulous, actually. Right. And there's some things I'd like to see and change and do differently going forward. And so I think that falling apart, at least to some degree, is really necessary, because otherwise, if you're not falling apart, what do you want to change?
Wow. Exactly.
I mean, if everything's perfect and you don't need to fall apart, then what are you changing?
And why are you putting a wall up at that point?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great analogy there. It's good.
That's psychology 101 according to Teri. Take it for what it's worth. Take it for what it's worth, guys. I am not a therapist, okay?
The book is coming out soon.
Yeah. Just read Peg Unhinged. That'll give you everything you need to know.
It'll give you everything you need to know about psychology 101 according to
Teri. Yeah.
Do you think, since you made this into a funny book, you think humor is the best medicine, a good coping mechanism, or maybe even a leadership skill?
I think that there's something really good about being able to laugh, and being able to laugh at difficult situations, being able to find that funny piece, because even in the worst of the most horrible things, there are things that can be funny.
Right.
Bruce in the end had trouble speaking because where his tumor was in the speech center. So he knew what he was thinking, but he couldn't always get the words out. And one night I was tucking him in, and this is at a point he's not able to, he can't get around on his own anymore and everything else. And so I've tucked him into bed, and I leaned over and I said, "I love you, darling." And he looked at me with the most sincere eyes. It was in October. And he looked at me and said, "Merry Christmas."
Oh, wow.
And he meant, "I love you." And it's funny, and it's sad, but it's funny. Like, it's funny. And there was another time where he looked at me and he said, "I need more blood." And I said, "Oh, we've become a vampire, have we?" Because if you don't laugh, I mean, it can be really heart-wrenching. Here's my extremely intelligent, master's degree engineer level articulate man who can't tell me he needs a blanket and instead tells me he needs more blood. Right. And so, I think that humor is, you have to be careful, like when you use it and how you use it. But if you're using it about yourself, I think that it can be very valuable. You have to be careful that you don't make light of someone who isn't in a space to be made light of. Right. But I think kind of self-depreciating humor. I always like to get people to laugh. If I can find, particularly if I am like giving a talk in person, so everyone's there in the audience, and I get a little nervous, if I can get them to laugh pretty quickly, I then feel way more comfortable. I think it just brings in a lot of, we're all on the same page, right? We found that funny. And the way I often do that is self-depreciating humor of some kind. Like I'll talk about the fact that, we rode across the United States on a tandem, and then I say, "Me, look at this body," and everyone laughs because I'm not athletic. There's nothing about me that says, "Oh, now there's an athlete," right?
She is.
But I did it, right? And so that once everyone laughs, then I all of a sudden have relaxed. And so I just think that there is something to humor. But you wouldn't want, for instance, I wouldn't want to tell someone that my husband died and have them laugh.
Right.
right? Or
Definitely.
have them tell a joke about that. Like
Right.
that isn't, so you have to, so yes, humor is very, I think can be a very good tool, but you have to know when it's appropriate and when not. So like if you're one of those people that aren't sure, it's better to not.
Better step back.
Yeah.
Step back a second.
Yeah. Yeah.
Read that room a little bit and
Yeah.
understand what's going on, and
Yeah.
then maybe lean in
Then
later with a
maybe. Yeah.
different kind of joke.
Right. Absolutely. So
It could get pretty ugly or very heartbreaking for everyone in the room.
yeah. Yeah. And I think sometimes people don't, I've had a lot of people say things to me that for the longest time, I kept a list of things that I found very offensive. And then when I would talk to my therapist, I would just blow the list all over my therapist and tell them this is this, and they said this, da, 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 because I knew better than to react, because I knew that I would lose friends and family members because I was not in a good space. So you do kind of have to be careful. You know, people think that they are connecting with you by saying certain things, and those connections don't go over well. I had a neighbor tell me they knew how I felt. They recently lost their dog. And I
Well,
said nothing. I said nothing. I wrote that down, let my therapist know how I felt about that. So people have that tendency to try to connect. And so, you know, I don't know. I think it's wonderful that people try to connect with those that are struggling. And if you see that it falls flat, you know, and an apology works too. Oh, I'm sorry. That probably was really not the right thing to say, was it? Because if you at least recognize it and say it out loud, then I'm allowed to say, yeah, it really didn't go over well, did it? And then we can both laugh. Do you see what I'm saying? Because then it's like, okay, now we're on the same page again. So,
right. It brings it back. It brings it back to
yeah,
an almost happy place or
yeah,
happier
yeah,
at that point.
yeah,
Otherwise, it's just this weird awkwardness that'll be in the
yeah,
room. Rest
yeah.
of
It's
the
like,
talk.
oh,
Let's have some water over here. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. I have a very expressive face, and my daughter tells me all the time, "Mom, watch your face, watch your face." So I have to be really careful that it's like,
Watch what you do.
yes, people will say things to me, and I'm thinking, "Watch your face, watch your face."
When I was a young leader, I used to get told about my nonverbal communication all the time because I'd always what
Yeah.
roll my eyes at people.
My son is a therapist, and when he thinks that something is either untrue or a little off, he has one eyebrow that goes up, and
Oh wow!
it points, and it
Oh
just
man!
it just goes up. And I would tease him all the time when he was in school. I said, "You're going to have to watch that, because you're going to have someone telling you something and you're not going to believe it, and your eyebrow is going to go up, and they're going to know that you are not with them 100%." And so, yeah, you do have to watch what you do. So,
Definitely. We got two last questions from the audience that we'll
okay.
head knock out here. This one looks like an easier name. Anchor here. What's the hardest part about starting over late in life?
Oh,
Thank
the
you for the question.
hardest part. Well, right now it's getting up in the morning. I don't, I just think that the older you are, the more set you become in your identity, you know? And so trying to make those changes, I've never been really good at making changes. I kind of like things the way they are, like you get used to them and it becomes comfortable. I think the older you are, the more set in your ways that you've become. And so recognizing that you've got to make those changes, I think maybe that's what it is for me. That's a really hard question. There's so much that feels really hard,
Right.
but I think it's mostly that I have to change.
Yes.
You know, I've gotten you get very comfortable in the way you do things. And then all of a sudden life comes along and it says, oh no, you're not allowed to do it that way anymore. And you're like, yeah. So,
Heck, I can't.
yeah.
And this next one goes right with, I think, right along with that last question. So this is, when it rains, what would you tell your younger self about resilience and change?
So the thing that I have learned along the way, at least for me, is that I have everything I need within me already. I don't have to become somebody else. I just have to find me again.
Right.
And sometimes the me gets buried. The life has this tendency to bury us, and just under all kinds of gunk. And it's a matter of discovering ourselves again. And so in this period of change where I'm learning what it is like to be me without Bruce, I don't think that I'm really changing so much as I'm discovering pieces of me that I didn't use and I didn't need because I had a partner.
Right.
And we coexisted together, and things that I wasn't good at or I let him do, and he let me do, and we that's the way we did life. And now that he's gone, I've got to kind of dig up those things and say, okay, where do I fit in all of this? So I think that's what I would remind myself is I am enough. I
Right.
don't have to become something else. I am fully enough as I am, but there are pieces of me that I can discover that will help me as I move forward.
Outstanding. Great answer there. And we've talked about a lot and laughed a lot in this show, a lot more than we did last year. So this is much better. Thank God. And
I'm so sorry. I don't know. I hardly remember talking with you that day. So if I made it awful, I am sorry. I certainly
oh,
didn't too.
I went through a little bit after that. I was like, oh man, I should have read up a little more. But I'm
And that,
always happy to have you here and laugh with you like we are
yeah.
tonight, and share everything you're doing. Which leads me to my first question, my first of my last two, of course. What's the best way for the audience to maybe find out more about Teri?
The best way is to go to my website, which is my name, TeriMBrown.com, and that's Teri with one R. If you go there, you can literally find everything. All my books are for sale there. You can see my podcast that I'm on. All my social media icons are up there that you can click on. You can sign up for my newsletter. And I even have a contact me page where if you just wanted a question and wanted to reach out to me, just feel free to do that.
Outstanding. And there's 3 podcasts now, not just, you can't just do one.
Yes. No. Teri doesn't just stop at one of anything. You know that, Rich. I'm gonna do way more. So
Every time I go on this website, there's more stuff. Is there 3 shows?
yes. So I have Online for Authors, which is my main podcast. I have Book Hook, which I call it my bite-sized podcast. It's a little short thing. And then once a month, I talk with a woman named Edith who lives in Austria. She is also an author and a podcaster, and we talk all things book. And it's just she and I chatting. And it's
Outstanding.
It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome to have that connection and across the pond, of course, to do it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's outstanding. And our last question, and you've answered this all, I don't know, at least 3 to 5 times now. So what's 3 things the Misfit Nation can start doing tomorrow to be better people?
Yeah. Do hard things. I mean, that's one of the things, but to be better people, I think for me, the things that I'm really working on is to remember to be grateful every day. Even on the very worst of the worst days, there's something to be grateful for, and to remember that one thing. I think for a lot of people, writing that down is something that works. So be grateful. I also think be service-minded. Find one thing you can do for someone else. I think that especially when we're feeling out of sorts, when we look outside of ourselves, we feel better. Or at least I know I do, so find one person that you can help. And it can be as simple as a smile, opening up a door, saying, I like your shoes. I mean, I don't mean that you have to go out and like rake a neighbor's lawn or rebuild their front room or anything, but something nice. And then I think really a lot of times we forget about self-care, and that it's okay to take care of yourself.
Yes.
And so think about do you feel overwrought? If so, maybe, find something to do that relaxes you. Like, it's okay to put yourself first sometimes.
Definitely.
Those are the 3 things I would say.
Outstanding. Thank you, Terry. And my brother, he chimed in with another question for you. How long until the next book?
Oh, okay. So I'm already writing the next book and I'm 24,000 words in. And my hope is to have it out. I would love to say in January or February.
Nice. Awesome.
I'm hoping.
Back on our regular schedule.
Yeah, trying to get back to my regular schedule. Once a year is about what I do. And really, when you think about it, I had the one come out in February and this one came out in April. So I was only 2 months behind. And I didn't write for 8 months. So
that's outstanding too. Yeah.
Given that, guys, I feel like, it was not so
forgive
bad.
You. We'll forgive you. It's all right.
Okay.
Yeah, Terry, again, thank you for sharing Tag Unhinged with us, and of course, where you are now in life and how you're making it. You're doing great things. Thank you again for sharing all things Terry with us.
Thank you for having me on. I always love being here.
Outstanding. Misfit Nation, hopefully you got something out of tonight's show. And remember, if you feel the darkness caving in around you, don't go it alone. Reach into your wallet, that 1-inch piece of paper we told you to write down 3 names on. Call those 3 people. They want to hear from you today, tomorrow, and in the future. Because a day tomorrow with you is 100% better than one without you. Don't make a permanent decision to a temporary problem. Until next time, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are the Misfit Nation.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.